This video is going to be on the constant multiple rule. So the constant multiple rule tells us that if f is differentiable function and c is some real number, then c times f is also differentiable. And not only that, we can just pull the c out and differentiate f and then multiply it back. So what are we talking about here? Y equals 5x cubed. So this means that I can just say that y prime is equal to 5 times the derivative of x cubed, right? I can just pull the 5 out front. I know that the derivative of x cubed, we bring the 3 out front, x, and then decrease by 1. So we wind up with 15x squared. What about y equals 2 over x? Well, once again, we've got to simplify this, or rewrite it, I should say, as y equals 2x to the negative 1. Now, negative 1, or let's rewrite it, right? So we'll say this is 2 times the derivative of x to the negative 1. This means 2 times, bring the negative 1 out front, decrease that by 1. We've got that, so we have negative 2 x to the negative 2, or negative 2 over x squared. What about this? F of t equals 4t squared to the over 5. Well, this is equivalent to saying f of t equals 4/5 t squared, right? We can just write that 4/5 as a fraction. So now we're talking about 4/5 times the derivative with respect to t of t squared. We're going to do this exactly the same way. Since we're differentiating with respect to t, we treat it just like we did x up here. Bring the 2 out front. So we've got 4/5 times 2t decreased by 1, so to the first power. So this just gives us 8/5 t. Here, we once again have to rewrite it as 2x to the 1/2, which is going to be 2 times the derivative of x to the 1/2, which is 2 times, we know this is bring the 1/2 out front, x 1/2 minus 1 is negative 1/2. So half of 2 is just 1, x to the negative 1/2, which is just 1 over x to the 1/2. Or, since we started in radical, we'll finish in radical, 1 over square root of x. Here we've got y equals 1 over 2 cube root of x squared. Once again, we're going to leave this as 1/2, but now we're going to say this is x to the 2/3, but negative 2/3 because it was on the bottom. We need to bring it up to the top. So we're talking about 1/2 times the derivative of x to the negative 2/3. So that's going to be 1/2 times negative 2/3 x, subtract 1. So minus 3/3 will be negative 5/3, which is going to be equal to, the 2's will cancel. I still have negative 1/3 x to the negative 5/3, which is negative 1 over 3 cube root of x to the 5th, which I can pull, since this is a 3 and this is a 5, I can pull 1 out. This is going to give me negative 1 over 3x cube root of x squared. Last one here, y equals negative 3/2 x. Super easy, right? Because this is just y equals negative 3/2 times the derivative of x. But we talked about the derivative of x, right? What's the derivative of x? It's just 1. All right, so our answer was negative 3/2. And this is going to be the case anytime, we talked about this, whatever in front of x, it's the slope, right? So that's going to have to be the derivative. Now, we can kind of combine the constant multiple rule and the power rule into one, because you notice what happened here. Really, all we had to do was every time we did this, we multiplied this number by whatever was on the front. So we could have just said 3 times 5 is 15, x to the 2, right? Or in this case, negative 1 times 2 is negative 2, x to the negative 2. So here's that rule. If we've got a number times x to the n, we're just going to multiply the x or the c in the n, and then decrease the exponent by 1, same way we did before. So example, y equals 7x to the 8th. 8 times 7 is 56, x decreased by 1, 56x to the 7th. I shouldn't say equals, I should say y prime equals. So if you have any questions on the constant multiple rule, please shoot me an email or a remind or ask a question in class.